Good morning, and welcome to All Levels Yoga. My name is Michelle Chua. So find a way to sit to begin with. And by the way, for those of you who are watching live, remind me after class, please, to write your names down for our New Year's Day raffle. Here's a quote that struck me this morning by Eleanor Roosevelt. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. It reminded me of two of the root causes of suffering that we've been talking about quite a bit in the past few weeks: aversion and egoism, or the way that the ego tries to protect itself through fears and judgments. So here's an elaboration of this quote by Joseph Kaufman, author from Conscious Collective. People lose themselves in the need to feel accepted by you. You don't need anyone to accept you except you. Anytime that you worry someone is you judging yourself, you're the only judging yourself. Everyone else project onto you. If you can realize this, you can let go of the heavy weight of judgment and fear you've carried for so long. You can forgive others because you realize that they are fighting their own internal battle. When someone hurts us, we need to realize that it is because this person is hurting inside. That reminds me of Thich Nhat Hanh. They are only projecting their pain outward. What may appear as anger, abuse, or mistreatment on the surface is really a deeper cry for help, justified in their actions, boundaries, or leave abusive situation. But it means that they are only human, and they suffer just like we do. Recognizing this, we can have true compassion for that person and can see beyond our love. The truth that all words and actions level of a person's state of being, we can see beyond the mere appearances of chaos, violence, and destruction, and can see the deeper level of suffering that lies at the root. And by recognizing this, we develop compassion, patience, and love for others, as we can see a reflection of our own suffering within them. Back to that so important practice of empathy and compassion. I'm going to end our practice today with a short guided metta or loving kindness meditation during our 5-minute optional time at the end. But for now, as you're sitting, allow your body to feel more grounded, firmly rooting towards the surface below. And with that, feel an elevation of your heart space, literally an elevation of your crown. And in between your crown and your pelvis, observe the space, the quality of the space. And how breath is able to flow through that space. We're going to begin with a simple pranayama or breath technique called samavriti, or box breathing. So inhaling and exhaling. You can exhale to your mouth or your nose, whatever is more comfortable for you. I'll count from from 4 as we breathe in. We'll hold the breath in for 4 counts, exhale for 4 counts, and hold the breath out for 4 counts. So let's begin. Empty this breath. Hold it for a moment. Then inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold your breath for 4, 3, 2, 1. exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, 1. Out 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, 1. On your own, continue a couple more rounds. And now, if you can, just breathing through your nose while softly narrowing the back of your throat. Invite a gentle whisper as you sustain your breath evenly in and out. No longer holding your breath at any point. Feeling a smooth transition between in and out breaths. Notice the qualities that you're cultivating in the sound of your breathing. Choose qualities that reflect your intention of what you'd like to cultivate within your body, within your mind, through this practice. And now take a look at your legs. If they are crossed, I invite you to switch the opposite leg forward or on top. Placing your left fingertips, as I'm mirroring you, on the ground just beside your left hip. Raise your right arm up and rotate your tricep, which is the outer side of your right upper arm, slightly forward. And notice how it broadens across your shoulder, a little more space. Plug your shoulders and hips down, but take a deep breath and lengthen your spine. Hug in your front ribs and begin to side bend to your left as you breathe out. Pause when you breathe in and root more firmly downward through both sitting bones, especially the right. Lengthen your spine from your pelvis. To lower your left elbow. Now as you relax your shoulders down away from your neck, feel the open space at your as well. And in this lateral extension of your spine, let's take just 2 more deep breaths. Now firming your abdomen, inhale, rise up. Place your right hand on the ground beside your right hip. And then raise your left arm, rotating your outer upper arm or triceps slightly forward, just like we would do in downward dog to create more space across the shoulder. Draw down your shoulders and hips, lift up to your spine, take a deep breath. Then to your right, begin to side bend. Pause where you are, firm down through your pelvis, lengthen your spine as you inhale. And side bend a little more as you exhale. Feel that your front bottom ribs are softening inward towards your back body. Let's take 2 last breaths. Then firm your lower belly in and inhale to rise. So please find a block or maybe a pillow that could mimic the width of the skinniest width of your block. And as you set your feet down at the middle of your mat, Parallel your feet and hug that skinny width of your block firmly between your thighs so your feet are separated as wide apart as your knees. Now firm down through the four corners of your feet and your sitting bones and find a lift up to your spine while extending your arms forward. And now with both upper arms, rotate your triceps towards the floor, turning your palms up towards the sky. Keep pressing your shoulder blades down, lifting up to your crown and chest. Now with several slow breaths, take your time, lowering onto your back as we strengthen core stability. Activating various muscles at the same time throughout your torso from neck to glutes. And once your head meets the ground, lift your feet off the floor so that your knees stack directly above your hips. Flex or point your feet, still hugging the block firmly between your thighs. Now in this position, notice the space between the ground and your lower back. For most of us, there is space, there's a curvature there. Let's shorten that space without completely eliminating it by firming the abdomen in towards your back. And as you do that, notice the shape of your body. It's as if you're sitting in a chair. So place your palms face down on your lap, and with your palms, begin to push your thighs away from your torso as your thighs resist back against your hands. So actually the counter forces create no visible movement, but perhaps you feel a deeper contraction in your lower belly at your transverse abdominis. Now let's take about 5 more deep breaths here, keeping the breath calm and steady, face relaxed, both shoulder heads grounded away from your neck. Pressing your thighs away, thighs pressing back into your palms. Notice your tailbone lengthening down and forward. Let's take one more deep breath. So we're waking up our transverse abdominis as we firm the outer hips towards the midline. And then from here, set your 2 feet on the ground and bring your arms down by your sides. Find your feet where you could almost touch your heels with your fingertips, but not quite that close. So have your feet just slightly further from your hands. And with your feet still parallel, spread your weight down through the 4 corners of each foot, ground through the backs of your shoulders, and tilt your chin back slightly away from your chest. We're gonna move in and out of bridge pose 5 times, or 5 cycles of breath. So let's begin. Keeping your feet still, inhale, raise your pelvis. Lengthening your thighs forward, coil your chest up. And as you arrive at the peak of your bridge pose, transition to lowering as you exhale your upper back, middle back, then tailbone last. We're gonna add arms to this movement as well. Pressing your feet down. Next round, inhale, lift your pelvis and your arms. Reaching your arms overhead as you coil your chest up. Keep your shoulders rooted on the ground, feet grounded. And as you exhale to slowly lower your spine, also lower your arms again, down by your sides. So at your own pace of breath, take 3 more cycles of moving, Setu Bandha Sarvangasana, bridge pose. Feel the activation of your hamstrings, the back muscles of your thighs, when you lift your pelvis. It's the feeling of as though you're dragging your heels back towards your glutes, but don't actually move your feet. That's the feeling of contracting your hamstrings. And at the same time as you lift the pelvis, reach your tailbone actively towards the space between your knees. Hug your thighs towards the block. You might be on your last round, but go at your pace. And when you do finish your last round, let's set the block aside. Keep your knees bent And separate your feet wider apart than your hips distance. Separate your knees just as wide apart as your feet. And then drop both of your knees to your right side. Then align your left knee to trace the center line of your mat. From here, notice any sensation, especially in your left side of your lower back, the front of your left hip and thigh. If you're experiencing plenty of sensation, just stay here. Otherwise, pick up your right foot. Cross your right ankle on top of your left thigh, just above your left knee, to add a little more weight naturally. Then you might also add raising your arms overhead, bending your elbows and catching hold of opposite elbows as you relax your shoulders down. Continue to soften your bottom front ribs towards your back body as we take 3 more deep breaths. Giving our psoas some love. You might even breathe into that area of your left hip and left side of the lower back. Now slowly unravel your legs back to the center position with feet apart, wider than hips distance. Knees just as wide apart as your feet. Then drop both of your knees to your left side. Point your right knee down the midline of your mat. And then just pause to observe what sensations may be here, especially surrounding the right side of your pelvis, lower back. If you're wanting more sensation, pick up your left foot, cross your left ankle onto your right thigh, just above your right knee. And then raising your arms overhead, switch, holding the opposite elbow on top. Relaxing your arms, your shoulders down away from your neck. Let's take 3 more deep breaths. Think of melting the bottom of your front ribs down towards your pubic bone. Then uncrossing your legs, your bent knees uncrossed towards your chest. And just take a moment to hug your shins. Maybe you're able to hold opposite elbows, ground your shoulders, ground your tailbone, tuck your chin slightly towards your chest. And just take a few breaths here, squeezing in your thighs, lengthening your spine against the ground. Two more breaths. Pelvis heavy on the floor. And then take hold of your bent knees with your hands and begin to rotate your thighs apart, breathing in. Rotate your thighs together, breathing out. And then several more rotations of your thigh bones at your hip sockets. In any direction, lubricating your hip joints. And whether you choose to rock to one side or forward, gradually rise up. And it's like a new day. Let's come down to all fours, hands and knees. And if you have blocks, let's place them on the outsides of the front of your mat. Set your hands down so that your wrists are directly under your shoulders and parallel the creases of your wrists, these lines right here, with the front edge of your mat. Spreading your fingers flat and then set your knees directly under your hips so you're actually in modified plank pose. Now we're gonna do a little exercise of just moving the shoulder blades. Different from cat-cow, it's a very a subtle motion. Think of your shoulder blades like two windows closing together, that's retraction, and then separating apart, that's protraction. And we'll do that by keeping the head still, looking at the same spot in front of your hands, keeping the spine as though it were a straight line, and then just squeeze the shoulder blades together, retract, the chest slightly sinks, but it's not cat-cow, and then spread the shoulder blades apart. Feel your latissimus loci, serratus engaged. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Spread the shoulder blades apart. Take about 4 more cycles. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Spread them apart. Keep going. So all the while, keep your belly slightly lifted. Little engagement of your abdomen. Crown of your head in line with your tailbone. And then once you finish this round, release that. And now we're going to do an exercise for your wrists, warming up the muscles that support the wrists. This is also a very subtle movement. So you want to keep your bases of your fingers, even your whole thumb, flat on the floor. And the only area that we're trying to lift is the heels of your palms. So I'm not sure if you can see it from far away, but it's just lifting just the heels of your palms, very small movement. Notice the shoulders remain above the wrists as you slowly lower heels of your palms. Lifting heels of palms, thumbs and pinky fingers stay flat. Lower heels of palms simultaneously. Try that a few times, and the same thing with the spine stays sort of like a straight line. You're looking at the same spot on the floor ahead. The shoulders stay aligned directly above your wrists. I like to call them sort of wrist push-ups. You should start to feel some rigor in your lower forearms and your wrists. Let's take 2 more cycles. So once you finish that, please take your strap. Doing some refined warm-ups here. And as you sit back, any way that you can be upright, relax your shoulders. Do our little shoulder flossing motion. Put your strap between your hands, wider than shoulders distance, like right about this. And have a taut grip on the strap so it's not loose, but it's a straight line. Have your strap just onto your thighs as you lift up through your crown, relax your shoulders. Try to keep the same space between ears and shoulders throughout this movement. As you raise your arms up, so you might have to adjust by walking the hands wider apart. Exhale your arms all the way behind you and down. Then inhale your arms up. Exhale your arms forward and down. And then keep going, several cycles of breath. If you find that it's become very easy for your shoulders, you could walk your hands a little closer together. Synchronize your movement to the sound of your whispering Ujjayi breath. Warming up your body as you close your lips. Let's go for 2 more cycles of breath. All right, so have your strap just like a scarf for a moment because we're going to use it again. But come on down to hands and knees and step your right foot just inside of your right hand. Now you might want to use blocks here as we warm up our groins, our hamstrings and hips to elevate your hands on whatever amount you may need. Now tuck your back toes, separate your feet hips distance. Make sure your right knee is bent directly over the heel. And as you breathe in, broaden your chest forward, further slide your shoulders down your back. As you breathe out, draw your right thigh bone back into the hip socket, straightening your right leg to whatever degree you can. fold inside of it with a feeling of a flat back. Open your chest. And inhale, rebend your right knee to stack just over your heel. And exhale, straighten your right leg and bow down. Now at your own pace, take 3 more cycles of breath. When you finish, lower your back knee to the ground, untuck your back toes, root down firmly through the 4 corners of your right foot, center of right knee, center toe pointing straight ahead, 2 hips facing forward, lift your spine upright for Anjaneyasana. Now do bring your hands to your outer hips for a moment and manually encourage your right outer hip to draw back slightly and your left outer hip to rotate forward slightly. And then as your tailbone anchors down, lift your frontal hip bones towards your lowest front ribs and feel that engagement in your lower belly, rooting down firmly to your right foot. Now let's take the strap in your left hand. Raise your left arm up, rotate your left tricep forward, bend your elbow behind your skull, land your left palm between your shoulder blades. Walk your shoulder blades both down your back, reach your right hand behind you underneath, and grab the other end of the strap. Walk your hands as close together as you can, maybe clasping your fingers if they reach. Then as you root down to your right foot without actually moving your right foot, let it feel as though you're dragging your right heel towards the rear of your mat as you allow your tailbone to sink forward, lifting your frontal hip bones, lifting your back ribs. Take a deep breath and broaden your collarbones, lift your sternum. And as you exhale, slide your shoulder blades down your back, coiling your chest up. As you lean your skull against your left forearm, we're here for about 3 more breaths in Anjaneyasana with arms in Gomukhasana. Now slowly raise your left arm up. Take hold of your left wrist with your right hand. Make sure that your right knee is directly on top of your right heel. And then press down through both of your feet. Lift up from tailbone to crown. Take a deep breath. Relax your shoulders down and begin to side bend to your right for a few breaths. Inhale, press down to your legs and lift your spine. And each exhale, perhaps bend to the side further. Keeping your shoulders relaxed and your front ribs hugging in. Now as you inhale, lift your spine upright, take your right thumb and hook the crease of your right outer hip down. Stretch your spine forward to trace the midline of your mat as you breathe in. Now twist at your waist to your right and either lower your left hand on a block or the floor directly under left shoulder, or cross your left elbow, maybe with the help of your right hand, to the outside of your right thigh, and either open your arms wide apart or join your hands in prayer, bringing the middle of your chest to meet your thumbs. Exploring the range of your spinal twist, let's take about 4 more breaths. So take a peek at your right heel and make sure that it's still directly underneath your right knee, as that will help the stability or the foundation of this posture. Each in-breath, stretch your spine forward to trace the center line of your mat. Keep your shoulders relaxing down your back. With each out-breath, firm your outer hips to still your lower back while twisting deeper at your waistline, turning your rib cage. Now look down at your right foot, take a deep breath. Exhale, place your 2 hands on blocks or the floor to frame it.
Draw your right thigh bone back to straighten your right leg and lift the ball of your right foot, flexing the toes. Engage the front muscle of your right thigh. And as you take a breath in, broaden your chest forward and lengthen all of your spine. With hips squared facing forward, begin to bow in, breath by breath. Half split, or Ardha Hanumanasana. Last 2 breaths here. Then drag your right heel back and step down to all fours, hands and knees. Spread your fingers wide and flat, stack your shoulders right above your wrists, knees right under your hips. And let's take a few cat-cows like this. Breathe in, coil your chest up. Breathe out, tuck your toes and round your back, dropping your skull. 2 more. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Then coil your chest up. Exhale, tuck your toes and contract your belly to round. 1 more time. Relax to a neutral spine and step your left foot forward inside of your left hand. You may want to grab your strap while you're here closer to the floor and just put it on like a scarf. And then use blocks under your hands if needed as you come into a high lunge, lifting your back knee, parallel your feet, hips width apart, and stack your left knee directly over the heel. As you take a deep breath, broaden your chest and slide both shoulder blades down your back. Exhaling, begin to straighten your left leg by drawing the thigh bone back while extending your heart forward to bow. Move to the flow of your breath. Inhale, bend your left knee down. Exhale, straighten it and bow. Keep going for 3 more cycles. Now, as you lower your back knee to the ground, untuck your right toes. Firm down through the 4 corners of your left foot, and then rise up, bring your hands to your hips. Kneeling lunge. With your hands, rotate your right outer hip slightly forward. Draw your left outer hip slightly back. Tailbone anchor further down. Feel the power of your legs to root into the earth, causing a rise, lengthening up your spine. Then take your strap from your right hand, dangle the tail behind you. Rotate your right tricep forward before bending your right elbow behind your skull, landing your right palm between your shoulder blades. Reach your left hand underneath, grab the other end of your strap. Close together as you can, perhaps clasping your fingers. Don't actually move it, but give it the feeling as if you're dragging your left heel back. While you lengthen your tailbone down and forward, lift your back ribs. Slightly behind your ears, so your shoulder blades back. Leaning your skull against. Let's take a few more breaths. Root down through both feet, raise your right arm up high, and take hold of your right wrist with your left hand. Lifting your spine, relax your shoulders and breathe in. Exhale, side bend to your left incrementally each new breath. Breathe in, ground your feet and lengthen your spine. Breathe out, laterally stretch some more. Now, as you lift your spine upright again, use your left thumb and hook the outer crease of your left hip, tacking it down. Feel the weight of your legs as you breathe in to stretch your spine forward, tracing the midline of your mat. At your waistline, exhale, twist to your left and either lower your right hand on your block or the floor right under your right shoulder. Or maybe with the help of your left hand, you hook your right elbow outside your left thigh, whether opening your arms wide or joining your palms in prayer, turning the center of your chest to meet your thumbs. Now keep utilizing each part of your breath. With your inhales, feel grounded through your legs and stretch your spine further forward. With your exhales, hug your outer hips towards your midline and continue to twist across your waistline. Let's take another 4 breaths. On your next inhale, look down at your left foot. Exhale, frame it with your 2 hands on the ground or blocks. Straightening your left leg, plug your left thigh bone back into the hip socket, lift the ball of your left foot and flex your toes back. Engaging the front muscle of your left thigh, breathe in and extend your chest forward. Breathe out and hinge little by little from your hips. Ardha Hanumanasana, half split. Now we're going to exit this posture differently on side 2. So bend your left knee, tuck your right toes, and look at the top of your mat. Take a deep breath in, then exhale, step your right foot forward, hips distance from your left. Forward fold. Put a little bend in your knees. Shift a little more weight towards the balls of your feet. And as you either press blocks ahead of you or the ground or your shins, with an inhale, broaden your chest forward and lengthen your spine parallel to the ground. Exhale, keep leaning forward and bow even further. Firming down through your feet, sweep your arms and rise to stand. Palms meet overhead at the top of your inhale. Look up, then exhale, trace your thumbs down your center line. Arms by your side, palms facing forward in mountain pose. Let's start with a modified vinyasa in Sun Salutation A, connecting movement to breath. Inhale, raise your arms and look up. Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, bow forward, maybe with bent knees, to fold in Uttanasana. Inhale, press with your fingertips and lengthen your spine forward, Ardha Uttanasana. Plant your hands and knees to the ground and exhale from modified plank. Lower your chin first, then slide your belly and legs to the mat. Inhale, broaden your chest off the floor and firm down through the tops of your feet, Cobra. Exhale, press the ground away with hands and knees. Tucking your toes, lift your hips high, draw your sitting bones back, downward facing dog. So for some of you, this might be your first downward dog of the day. And if you'd like a moment to shift around, take a few breaths. Pedaling your feet, swiveling your hips, softly moving your head. Feet apart, at least hips distance, parallel. Wrists at least shoulders distance. Wrap your triceps towards the ground. Lift your shoulders and hips back and relax your neck. Now steadying your gaze on the floor towards your feet, let's take 2 more deep breaths. Adho Mukha Svanasana. At the end of your exhalation, walk or lightly jump to the front of your mat into a forward fold. Then inhale, press with your fingertips to rise halfway. Exhale, fold again. Inhale, circle your arms to rise all the way. Exhale your arms down in mountain pose. So whether you take the same modified version of a vinyasa or this time move through chaturanga in the standard form, let's keep flowing twice more. Inhale your arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen halfway. Step to plank. Exhale, lower, forward. Hug your elbows close to your sides and come down. Whether into cobra or flip your toes halfway down and coil up to upward dog. Exhale to downward facing. 3 to 5 breaths with your body still and your gaze directed. Bending your knees, lift your heels and hips high, look at the ground past where you want to land your feet. Then on empty breath, walk or float to the top. Breathe in to lengthen forward. Breathe out to fold. Inhale to rise. Exhale, mountain pose. Last one, I'll meet you in downward facing dog. Follow the sound of your breath. Arriving in downward dog, let's take a couple more breaths. And please set your knees on the ground and re-enter modified plank. Shoulders over wrists, hips over knees, gaze forward of your hands on the earth. Now as you lengthen your spine, broaden your chest forward, and find the splaying of your shoulder blades across your back ribs. Remember that first exercise we did? So broaden your shoulder blades, and right between them on your upper back, slightly lift or dome. Not a full cat pose, just a slight in your upper back. Now lift your navel towards your spine and reach your tailbone towards your rear wall. Feel with your outer hips firming as if you're hugging a block between your thighs. Now we're building upon the ingredients we explored earlier. From here, tuck your left toes on the ground and straighten your left leg, pressing your left heel actively back. Keep hugging your hips towards your midline, lifting your navel, and splaying your shoulder blades apart as you look forward on the earth. From your inner left thigh, raise your left foot off the floor so your heel is about the height of your hip, and keep lifting your belly, broadening your chest, steady your gaze and breath. Now imagine as though this were Warrior 3, but you're standing on your knees and you're closer to the ground. 2 last breaths. Point your left toes, bend your left knee as though your heel was trying to touch your glute. Keep lifting your navel, push the ground away with your hands, and begin to coil your chest up. Imagine turn to your left. Square as though you're still. Find the area right your shoulder blades to contract. With an exhale, bend your knee towards your nose. Pause there and take an extra in-breath and out-breath. And place your left knee on the ground. Lean back onto your legs, interlace your fingers loosely, and just circle your hands at your wrist for a few breaths. Relax any tension you might have built in your face. I know I have, so let that go. And let's come back to modified plank. Feel the ground beneath and rebound your weight off the floor to your hands. As you look forward, broaden your shoulder blades and chest. Lift your navel, firm your outer hips in, then tuck your right toes on the floor and straighten your right leg. Pressing the heel back, keep lifting your navel. With eyes and breath steady, lift your inner right thigh and raise your right foot off the floor, just about the height of your hip. Now as you press your right heel back, lengthen through your crown and feel a semblance of Warrior 3. Notice if your hips are swaying more to your left. Hug your left hip towards your midline. In these asymmetrical postures that require your core muscles to really be in partnership to support your spine and balance. Be very telling where we might hold imbalance or where we might try to compensate with within our bodies for areas of weakness. Now point your right toes, keep your right hip bone facing the floor, bend your right knee, bring your heel towards your glute, and coil your chest up. Think of cow pose with a scorpion tail. Now lift your navel. Notice how as you're coiling your chest, there's a slight retraction or coming together of your shoulder blades. Look up, 2 or 3 more breaths. Take a deep inhale. Exhale, round and bend your right knee towards your nose. Hold that posture for an extra breath. Then set your right knee down. Spin out your fingertips to stretch your inner wrists and forearms. If your fingertips are facing your knees, you might add bending your elbows towards your knees. Relaxing your jaw, perhaps a lion's breath, sticking out your tongue, opening your mouth and eyes wide as you take a big exhalation like this. Then as you release your hands, come back down towards your legs. And we're gonna set up for dolphin pose. Now, if you have a headstand practice of your own, Shirshasana with the fingers interlaced, go ahead and take that for the next minute. Otherwise, I'm gonna set you up in dolphin with the option to move into Shirshasana. So same setup, interlace your fingers. I like to coil my pinky fingers so none of them gets crushed. There's a little snail there. And then you'll wanna make sure your triceps are rotating down as you start here. You're broadening the shoulder blades onto your back ribs, that's stability for your upper body. And then plug your elbows on the floor, exactly shoulders width apart. Firm downward with your outer wrists, forearms, and elbows to lift upward. Feel that there's space within your shoulder joints rather than collapse. Rooting down and rising from the ground. Then in dolphin, the head bears no weight, so you can look forward, which is more active, or you can just let your head fall, more passive. Keep your neck long by lifting your shoulders away from your neck. Tuck your toes, press down to your forearms and lift your hips. Then as you stay another 5 to 10 breaths, see if you can walk your feet forward closer to your elbows while pressing your chest back towards your shins so that your shoulders never go forward of your elbows. Lifting your shoulders away from your neck, firm your belly towards your back body. And just like you would in downward dog, lift your sitting bones and firm the fronts of your thigh bones back. Now you could add bringing your feet together, lifting one leg as you keep your hips squared, both facing the ground, flex your lifted foot. And then after a few breaths, you could switch sides. For those of you entering headstand, bring the very crown of your head to the floor. So the back of your skull is supported by your palms lightly, and you're lifting both legs, creating a vertical line upside down, together and flexed. So whatever your inversion, rest in child's pose whenever you need. We'll eventually meet there in about 5 or so breaths. Let your arms rest wherever you like. Deep rise, Balasana, or child's pose. Let's take a couple more breaths resting. Then slide your arms forward and slither onto the floor, lying on your belly in Sphinx pose. With legs straight back, place your elbows slightly in front of your shoulders and palms face down. Bring your ankles as close together as you can as you put your toes. Give her cross your left forearm in front of your chest on the floor. Bend your right knee. Backstroke your right arm to open the front of your shoulder. And with your right hand, catch hold of the inside or big toe side, not pinky toe side, of your right ankle or foot. Now you could lasso your foot with a strap as an extension of your arm as well. Then have your knees no wider apart than your hips this time. Arm down through both of your frontal hip bones and turn your chest completely to face forward. As you take a few more deep breaths, bring your right heel slightly to the outside of your right hip, while lengthening your tailbone back towards your inner left heel. Soften your shoulder blades down. Broaden your chest forward. Last 2 breaths. Release your right leg straight. Come back to Sphinx pose with both arms. And slide ankles as close together as you can. Cross your right forearm in front of your chest. Bend your left knee. Backstroke your left arm and externally rotate. Catch hold of the big toe side of left ankle or foot. Arm down through both of your frontal hip bones. Have your knees no wider apart than hips distance. As you turn your chest completely to face forward, relax both shoulders down. Deep breaths, bringing your left heel slightly to the outside of your left hip as you lengthen your quadriceps. One more breath in. And exhale to let it go. Press your hands into the floor and slowly rise up to sit, sliding your legs in front of you as we make our way to Paschimottanasana, a seated forward fold. Now here, you might like to use your strap around the balls of both feet. Or if you're going to reach for your big toes or your legs instead, just start with your hands alongside your hips. With feet apart, hips distance, flex your feet in a way of pressing the mounds of your big toes more forward and flaring your pinky toes back towards your outer knees. Root down to your sitting bones. Firm your outer hips in the line. And as you take a deep breath, feel the full length of your spine, opening your chest and throat. Now as those strength sternum past your big toes, begin to lean forward from your hips, holding the strap or walking your hands down your legs. perhaps using your peace fingers to clasp your big toes. Only bowing to the degree where you're not rounding your back, closing your throat, or adding more tension to your shoulders. In fact, there's a bit of contrast where you're slightly coiling your chest up like a baby cobra. Belly firms in, lower back stays long. Let's take 3 more breaths. What are you feeling reverence for today as we bow in? Or what are you grateful for in this moment? As you breathe in next, lead with your sternum and slowly rise up. Let's set up for Shavasana. So if you have any tightness in your lower back, you could create a little or long pillow right underneath the backs of your knees. Lay your feet apart and offer your knees a supported bend. Find a way to place your body towards the ground where your body can feel like it has permission to just take up space. Let go of any remaining efforts. Then take a deep breath in as though you could fill all ends of your body before opening your mouth and sounding your breath out. With eyes closed, drop in to Shavasana. Now resting here a little bit longer. What was the intention that inspired your yoga practice this morning? What quality about yourself, your body, your heart, or mind might you have been seeking to expand or strengthen? narrow your focus onto one feeling that perhaps you felt you needed today. And this will take us into our metta, or loving kindness meditation, for those of you who'd like to stay. If you're joining us for the last 5 minutes of meditation, let your body begin to move easily, gently into any stretch. Perhaps you keep your eyes closed as you eventually lift your body upright into a comfortable seat. I'm setting the timer now. Metta is a word that means loving kindness. And this particular meditation is meant to cultivate compassion, both for ourselves and for the world around us. So call to mind that one quality you chose, perhaps the intention for your yoga practice today, that feeling that you wanted to fulfill. Whether it be peaceful, or to feel loved, to feel grounded or balanced. And let that be your wish as we move forward here. Imagine an image of yourself, whether today or yourself as a young child. Or a time in which you might have felt more vulnerable. As you sit here now face to face with your own image in your mind's eye, say these words, filling in the blank with that one quality you cultivated through this practice today. May you feel blank, peaceful, loved, balanced, that one quality. And allow a moment to feel the meaning of the words you're gifting yourself. Feel the effect of receiving those words. Now, call to mind an image of a being, person, animal, whom you feel neutral about. Perhaps it's someone you see once in a while, someone that lives in your building, you say hi to here and then. See them right before you, eye to eye, and give them the same words. May you feel. And next, call to mind a being whom you love or care about. See them face to face, and again offer them the gift of the same words. May you feel. And finally, Call to mind a being whom you may have felt judged by or challenged by in any time of your life. See their eyes before you, and in a genuine space, gift them your words. May you feel. As you allow your breath to deepen, broaden your awareness from your breath to your body, to the space around your body. Bringing your palms to meet at your heart as you lift your heart, bowing in. Here is a suggestion if you'd like to continue your practice of metta as you walk into the rest of the day. Perhaps seeing beings around you that you know or that you don't know, strangers driving by, and find a genuine place in your heart to wish them the same feeling used in your practice today. May you feel. And notice the effect of that as you end your day tonight, perhaps reflecting on it as you go to bed. Let's close this practice, joining in one Om. Take a deep breath. The light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste.